that our communities are coming up with. And the third defining factor in this moment is around militarism at home and abroad, that we thought, especially when we were planning the caravan, that it was really clear that both the Republicans and the Democrats and the people who support them were applauding the rise of militarism both at home and abroad. And so we were seeing that these were kind of the three major defining factors of the moment that we needed to address and that we needed to speak out about as frontline communities. And so for us, we had a number of goals. One was to highlight the Justice for Berta campaign, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when we hit the next slide. The second goal is to, it's hashtag Fight the Right, right? This is a moment for us to really challenge the rise of the reactionary right. That there is a bigger we in this election cycle, and that it was that we needed to consolidate that there were a lot of people who had questions about this current moment, and who are really kind of grappling with, neither the Republicans nor the Democrats represent our interests, and so how do we actually lift up what it is that we believe are our solutions and our interests, and really put that at the forefront in the context of the elections and beyond. And then the last goal is to lift up the local struggles that we are all engaged in, and to build our unity and our relationships. And so those were the overall goals. And then in the next slide, you will see the list of organizations that were represented in the caravan. I believe we had about 20 organizations that were represented in the caravan and over 40 people participating. And so, so I will spend a little bit of time talking about the Justice for Berta campaign and why it was really important for us to lift that up as a central piece of the caravan. So for those of you who don't know, Berta Cáceres was an indigenous environmental human rights activist who was murdered in her own home on March 2nd of this year. And we felt that it was important that we lift up the role of the U.S. in supporting the military coup that deposed the democratically elected president, Manuel Zelaya, which then created the conditions in 2009, since 2009, for the human rights abuses that allowed for the criminalization and murders of activists. And so Berta was murdered in that context. And since her murder, GGJ members have been supporting calls from Honduras for independent investigations into her murder, holding rallies and protests at the Honduran consulate in different cities, and in supporting organizing efforts around a bill, HR 5474, which is a bill called the Berta Cáceres Human Rights in Honduras Act. That's a bill in Congress that calls for the suspension of military aid and training to Honduras until there's an investigation into human rights violations there. And so we were really lucky and fortunate to be joined in the caravan by Laura Zuniga Cáceres, who is also on this call, daughter of Berta, as well as Rosalina Madre Dominguez, a leader of COPIN, which is the organization that Berta co-founded. And so for us, again, we really wanted to lift up Berta Cáceres in the as kind of symbolic of all the different themes and issues that that brought us together, which are racial justice, grassroots feminism, anti-militarism, and climate justice. And so I'll end there.
Thank you, Helena. So welcome, everyone. I know some folks came on as Helena was already kind of running down an overview of the caravan. This is our national report back for the It Takes Roots to Change the System caravan. And we have an incredible lineup of speakers that are going to come in just a minute. We also have a Spanish line and an English line. So we'll be taking time to make sure that, that folks are being heard on both sides. And the only other thing I'll mention is we want to make sure all our presenters stay on video. We might be muting all the presenters, all the participants in between presentations. But then there'll be a time at the end for for a question and answer. So next up, right now, we're just going to share a video. One of the things that we were blessed with on this caravan is we had an incredible media team, and they made a lot of videos that we'll share that are on our website and on our Facebook page. And this is a preview of a wrap-up video that has not been fully, it'll be fully bilingual shortly, but right now it's subtitled into English. Primarily it's in Spanish and English, but with subtitles in English. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and share that video out. All right. Oops. Sorry. Let me go back here. Here we go.
It takes roots, People's Caravan, from the RNC to the DNC, was our attempt to really bring a different voice in this political moment of grassroots leaders and organizers from the United States, taking a stand against the hate and politics of exclusion, and to be able to really say that something dramatically different is needed at this moment. We took our message to Billy to talk about particularly the Justice for Berta campaign, in which we needed to raise up the visibility of the role of the U.S. Government in the Honduran coup, particularly holding former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton accountable for undermining democracy.
El gobierno de Estados Unidos tiene responsabilidades, ya que el apoyo militar y a la policía es para fortalecer esa estructura de violencia que hoy sufrimos en Honduras.
Berta Cáceres was a social movement leader, not only for people in her community, but I think for a lot of people and a lot of movements in the Americas.
It was one of the initial inspirations in my life to become an organizer and somebody dedicated to the social movements and in general to the fight for a world that puts human lives as the priority instead of corporate profits.
A true feminist, a true social movement leader that was murdered in her home.
She embodies the kind of feminism that we want to put forth. She was an indigenous environmental human rights activist. She lived in her community and really did work to protect her community's land and the people that lived on it.
We see the relationship, obviously, between us and the local peoples struggling to maintain their sacred sites, because that's exactly the kind of work that we try to do. There's organized communities in resistance to destruction of the biodiversity, destruction of forests. It's really part of the same struggle. That indigenous struggle is going on throughout the world, actually.
Hi, my name is Maisel, and I come here from St. Louis, Missouri. I'm here today to say that Black Lives Matter.
Her environmental work was the fact that indigenous rights weren't being respected, and I think as like a Black person who also lives in St. Louis, that's something that I definitely feel. You know, people's boats get stolen, people are thrown in jail for no good reason, and their lives are taken without due process for some reason. You know, walking across the street and not turning quickly enough for an officer is enough to warrant the execution.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
I served in the Marine Corps from 2001 to 2006 and deployed to Iraq in 2004 and 2005.
The militarization that they're seeing in Honduras is a more extreme version of the militarization that's happening here at home. And I think that a lot of us, myself included, feel responsibility to both highlight those connections and also work to do our best to deconstruct that.
We can't dismantle our police state here if we still have a strong military complex abroad, because it's that military complex that they're drawing from to sort of oppress us at home.
Y por eso pedimos a estos países internacionales que ya no estén dando fondos a los policías y a los militares para que vayan a asesinar a nuestros compañeros de lucha que tenemos en nuestra comunidad.
Yo creo que terminamos como sintiéndonos más hermanados que separados. Fue como muy enriquecedor ir conociendo como las distintas realidades y las distintas historias de las personas y empezar a ver también como en Estados Unidos también hay realidades difíciles.
This call for justice for Berta means a lot to me because it means that we're actually trying to do something that how are we different, right? How can we be different in the way that we interact with other people around the world?
When I got to see her speak in person, she talked about the right to be happy. That at the end of the day, that's really the fight.
Debemos amarnos y protegernos mutuamente. Debemos amarnos y protegernos mutuamente.
So I just want to give again a lot of appreciation to our incredible video team, and that was Aiden and Aisha, and then the support we also had from Ariel, this crew that was, even if we were fighting to get coverage in the mainstream media, but we also were able to share our stories out. So thanks to Aiden for making that film. And with that backdrop of the bigger picture of what we did, we're now going to go into a few key pieces that we felt were really important to share back out with our movement allies and with our membership. And we're going to start by bringing up Drew from the Southern Maine Worker Center. So I just unmuted Drew, and I'm going to go ahead and go back to bringing on our slide presentation. But Drew, why don't you go ahead and kick us off for the next piece.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for having me on here and to talk about this, and also just to see all of you again. The Caravan was a really powerful experience and a really great community. So the Southern Maine Worker Center is a multiracial, mixed class, broad-based, member-led organization in Southern Maine. Our membership is majority white, reflecting the demographics of our state. And we're trying to build an organization here that both empowers working class white folks to fight for economic justice and develops a membership that is invested in ending racism